Govinda, Vishnavi, Madhusudana, Trivikrama, and so on. And each one of these 12 names of Vishnu is connected also to one of the months. And Damodar is the current month, beginning from tomorrow onwards, more or less always around October, November. It is recommended during this month to sing this special song, Damodar Astakam. So this Damodar Astakam is written and spoken by Satyavrata Muni in a conversation with Narada Muni. And it's a very, very deep, philosophical and beautiful description of the Leela of Krishna as a baby. So in this month, Krishna is specially worshipped as a young boy, as a baby, Damodar, Makanchor. You know Makanchor? Yeah? He's always stealing butter, you know, Makanchor. So the first verse in this Astakam is describing what happened after Krishna stole the butter, you know. So Krishna stole the butter, and not only did he steal the butter, he was also giving all the monkeys butter. You know? He was distributing freely. He was giving butter to the monkeys. So, and everybody had eaten so much butter, and Krishna was very naughty. So when Mother Yashoda came, and they already had eaten so much, you know, then he said, you know, you see, nobody wants to eat the butter, you know. It isn't even as tasty, you know, because they're already full, you know. So Krishna is very naughty like that. And this first verse is describing the reaction of Mother Yashoda. So we'll read the Sanskrit. We'll do it word by word, and you can respond. Okay? So I'll call, you respond. Namam Ishvaram Sachit Anandarupam. Yes. So Namam Ishvaram Sachit Anandarupam. So this Damodar is Sachit Anandarupam. You know, his form, his manifestation is Sachit Ananda. You know, Sachit Ananda means it is eternally existent, it is full of conscious, and is full of bliss. You know, Sachit Ananda Rupam. This is the definition of Ishvaram. You know, so I'm offering my obeisances to the Supreme Lord, whose form is transcendental, who is beyond material energy, beyond material existence. So this is the introduction. Then it says, Lasat Kundalang Gokule Brajamanam. So Kundala, you know, he has very nice earrings. Very nice earrings. It says they're shaped like shark or like makara. You know makara? Like here I have, this is makara. You know, it's like this, you know, mythical, you know, sea monster. You know? So Krishna had very beautiful, you know, makara earrings. Lasat kundalam, you know, they're shining and they're moving, you know, they're dancing. Krishna is running away because Mother Yashoda is very angry, you know. He's such a naughty boy, you know. So Mother Yashoda is lifting a stick and running, you know, behind Damodar, and his earrings are, you know, moving back and forth, you know, touching his cheek. You know. It actually says his earrings were kissing, you know, his cheek as they were moving back and forth. Gokule Brajamanam, you know. So where? In the supreme abode of Gokula. You know. Gokula is the place where Krishna used to live. You know. Golok Vrindavan or Gokula, you know, Gokula more specifically, where Krishna used to live. Go, where there are many cows, you know, Vrindavan is known for the many cows. It says that Nanda Maharaj actually had 900,000 cows. 9 lakh, 9 lakh cows, a lot of cows. And Krishna knew each one of those cows by name, and he would call them every night, to come back. So Gokule Brajamanam, this shining, splendid place, Gokula, because this Gokula, even nowadays, you could say a representation of Gokula or the material expansion of this place is still in India, 150 kilometers south of Delhi. There is Vrindavan, Braj Mandala, and many of the holy places related to Krishna's Leela is there. There is even one very remote, small place where an ancient temple used to be there. But the temple was destroyed many, many centuries ago. So only a small fraction of that temple is still there. You can see it's a very ancient style of, construction. Like they don't construct anymore like this in North India. The style of constructing temples in North India changed a lot, but it's a very old piece, and they worshipping it, Small hut, small goshala, 3 cows, 2 sadhus, are living there, small, by the side of the road, and they have this small ancient piece from an ancient temple, because this is the place where Krishna performed this lila, So it's still there. And materially speaking, this place might be, Uttar Pradesh. Now it's developing, but it's a very poor area. Underdeveloped. So a lot of dirt. Superficially, you might not realize that this is, a very special place. If you don't have the information, and you don't know the culture, then you don't realize, what a unique place it actually is. But Gokule Brajamanam. Brajamanam means that this place is self-effulgent. So self-effulgent indicates that this place is not made of material energy. The spiritual reality is known to be Chit, Chit Ananda. So it's conscious, it's self-effulgent, it's made of Chintamani, Mani. So everything is made of spiritual substance. It is not material substance like we find in this material world. These dhammas, like that you find in India, there are, for example, 108 Divya Deshams of Vishnu, also many Shakti Peeths, and different places of worship. And all of those places are like embassies of the spiritual reality. It's like an embassy. The embassy of a country, embassy and Botschaft. Eine Botschaft. So it's like an embassy of the spiritual world. It's like an embassy. As soon as you enter an embassy, you actually, the laws of the local country don't apply anymore. The laws that apply are from the country which embassy it belongs to. So when Germany used to be divided in 2 different countries, the Eastern Germans who wanted to escape, communist rule, they were trying to enter the American embassy, But there were 2 rows of guards, First was the Soviet guards, East German Soviet guards, and then the American guards, The second guards was not the problem, they'll let you in, but the first guards, So these places, like Goloka Vrindavan, are like embassies. And if you have the right knowledge, the right attitude, you can actually perceive this unique nature of these places. They have a very unique influence on the consciousness and psyche. When you spend some time there, you will naturally start feeling, especially if you are spiritually inclined, you will feel a very natural inclination to perform spiritual activities. So this is Brajamanam. It's effulgent, it's inspiring, it's very, very beautiful. So Krishna is living in this place, Goloka Vrindavan, Gokula. And then it says, Yashodam Bhiyolukalat Dhavamanam. So Krishna is very afraid of Mother Yashoda. Krishna is very afraid of Mother Yashoda. He's, really scared actually, Mother Yashoda is running after Krishna. And sometimes people get confused when they hear this, How can God be afraid, How can God be afraid? If He is Swarat, He's independent, He's all-powerful, how can He be afraid? So this is a very, very, very unique and very intimate relationship Krishna enjoys with His devotees. Actually, the position of Krishna as the son of Mother Yashoda, or the way around, the position of Mother Yashoda being the mother of Krishna is only achieved once you have a very pure level of devotion to Krishna or to God. So the prerequisite or the requirement is that you fully understand the nature of the Supreme first. Once you have perfect understanding of the Supreme, full appreciation, full surrender of His supreme nature, only then you are permitted, you are trusted, you could also say, to enter a very confidential realm. It's like, this example is given very often. Srila Prabhupada uses very often the example of the high court judge. So if there's a high court judge, he is in a very respectable, powerful position, Everybody knows, he's Supreme Court, judge, or High Court judge. So he can, with the wield of his hammer, he can decide upon somebody's life or death, Very powerful person. So most people will be very respectful, Supreme Court judge, Better be nice to him, He might, give a bad sentence for you or your family member, somebody, So naturally you have respect, fear to some extent, because you know his position of power. And it's similar, the relationship that it's the first relationship one has with God is that relationship of awe and reverence, respect. But as one understands God deeper, then this, you could say, external, position of God as the controller, as the one who punishes, who upadrashta anumanta, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he's upadrashta anumanta, he's the witness. He witnesses everything we do, think, nothing escapes, his perception. He's in your heart as the super soul, so he sees everything you think, do, and feel. He truly knows you. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And he's also Anumanta. He gives permission. So he gives permission means he's supplying your karmas. So depending on your actions and activities and tendencies, and your sincerity, different karmas that you have accumulated, he gives permission for them to, act upon you. So, very powerful position. But this is only the external position of Krishna. Just like the Supreme Court judge, he's not only Supreme Court judge, he also has a family, So Supreme Court judge, takes away his wig, In Germany they wear this wigs, and there's red in Karlsruhe, they're in Karlsruhe, and they have this red, dresses, So they take it off, and then they go home, and maybe they have a dog, and maybe they have a grandchild, and the grandchild is very happy to see his grandfather, and says, "Grandfather, I want to play horse," And then the Supreme Court judge will go on his knees and will play horse with his, with a small child, Then the small child will go on top of the Supreme Court judge and say, "Faster, faster," And the Supreme Court judge will enjoy this more than he's enjoying who's the controller of everything, all powerful, That's only his external activity, One way somebody put it is once that the position of Krishna is the origin, So Krishna is actually who he really is. The Supreme is Krishna, and Krishna is only involved in Leela, pastime and loving exchange with his devotees. That's who really Krishna is. And as a side affair, you could say as his, second job, he also, his hobby, he sometimes is God also, But God is not his main occupation, So the main occupation of the Supreme is not to be God and to be all-powerful and controlling. The main occupation of the Supreme is a personal loving exchange with each and every devotee. And these relationships are very, very personal, And there are 5 main rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So these are the 5 main rasas. You can be neutral to God. You just appreciate nature. You are not sure, how he looks, what he does, but you're not also against the idea of God. You don't know yet. So Shantarasa is just neutral, in one sense ignorance, but in another sense also innocence. So you're open-minded still. And once you understand the nature of God, his qualification, his greatness, you might become into the next level, which is Dasya. You realize I'm very small, I'm Anu Atma, and God is Vibhu Atma, he's universal, he's so big, so powerful, and we're very, very small, minute, so fallible, so vulnerable, lost, maybe, not really sure, we're confused, we forget, So we realize we need shelter, So you take shelter, you develop, a deep sense of, gratitude and veneration, and you want to serve God, You want to approach God, and you really become serious, in your sadhana and devotion and practices. And at one point, you realize more and more that actually Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is not really just, the master. He's also the best friend, Like he says in Bhagavad Gita, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, I'm the friend of all living entities, So as we progress in spiritual life, you realize actually Krishna is a friend, And the more you develop friendship to Krishna, Krishna becomes much more approachable, And a very good example of, Sakya Rasa is Arjuna, Arjuna was a very good friend with Krishna, He was such a good friend of Krishna that Krishna didn't mind becoming the charioteer of Arjuna, So the charioteer, he kicks the chariot driver with his feet, Go right, go left, So Krishna was sitting there, and Arjuna was standing behind, and he was kicking Krishna, Go right, go left, And Krishna didn't mind, Krishna liked this exchange, because between friends, there is not so much respect. In Peru, there's the saying, a real friend, when he comes into your house, he will not ask permission to eat something from your fridge, If you're not really friends, you will enter and you will sit down and wait, maybe they'll offer me something, Maybe they don't, you don't know, But if you're friends with somebody, you just walk in and you're like, oh, what do you have? Oh, nice, Because you're friends, So there's less respect, but because there's less respect doesn't mean there's less appreciation, It's a different level of trust, So that's friendship, There's deep trust, and in friendship you might tease each other, Like in the mornings, right now we're reading this section of Nectar of Devotion, where all the friends of Krishna are described, Upasakas, and Vyajana Sakas, different friends. Some friends, they are, a little bit younger than Krishna, so they always want the attention of Krishna, are trying to help Krishna and, be noticed by Krishna. And some other friends are Upasakas, they're senior to Krishna, and they're trying to protect him, make sure he's fine, And other friends are more equal to Krishna, and they're teasing him, And they're making jokes, with him, making fun of Krishna even, Say, Krishna, close your eyes, we'll give you some food, and then they put a flower instead in the mouth, So, like that, friendship. And what we have here now is Vatsalya Rasa. So Vatsalya Rasa is the relationship of a parent to a child or a child to the parent. And this relationship goes two ways. Depending on which position, it changes. So if you're the son, you are receiving service. The children take service from the parents. Gradually, children of course also learn to respect and serve the parents, but generally the parents are, in a position to supply everything the children need, and trying to make sure they're happy and protected and, caring for them, serving them, especially when they're very young, Parents have to, fully, it's a full-time job, to take care of a small child, You can't leave a child, too long alone, They're always running, moving. So, therefore, the idea is that actually, especially in the West, in Christianity, it's very strong, this Vatsalya Rasa, but in the position where God is the Father. So God is the Father, so we always are asking something from God, God, please, solve all these problems for me, There's this very famous pilgrimage site not too far from here. It's called Altötting. Very famous Roman Christian, Catholic, pilgrimage place. And this is a small chapel, and it's full of small boards where people have, carved or painted, asking for some blessing, Very famous place. So very often that's the relationship we have with God. If God is in the position of the Father, He's the provider, He's the one fulfilling our desires, Like Prabhu says, many people pray, oh God, please give me color TV and house by the sea, Something like that, So a very mundane, just like a child, is always asking parents, give me ice cream, parents, give me this, please give me that, So, therefore, it's actually considered to be better if the role is swapped. That's better. When Krishna becomes dependent on the devotee. So that means that you are the parent now, and now Krishna is constantly asking something from you. That's a much better position, Vatsalya Rasa, where actually you serve then Krishna. But Krishna puts himself only in that position, like I said before, with very qualified devotees, very intimate devotees, just like the Supreme Court judge, plays with his grandchild. In a similar way, Krishna, is running away from Mother Yashoda. And then it says, Paramrishtam Atyanto Dhrutyam Gopyam. So Mother Yashoda is running very fast behind Krishna. She's running really fast, Paramrishtam, she's running behind Krishna, Gopya, Mother Yashoda, she's running. And as she's running, something very amazing happens, because in the spiritual world, everything is alive. In the spiritual world, nothing is just dull matter. Everything is very conscious. So there's a very interesting description about the dialogue the flowers on Mother Yashoda had. So Mother Yashoda, every morning in South India you still see that. Women every morning they decorate. They put this nice bun of flowers, on their hair. So Mother Yashoda also was decorated with very nice flowers, So when she started running, those flowers started falling off. But they were not just falling off because of the movement. Some of them were thinking, this naughty boy Krishna, we should help Mother Yashoda, Let's jump off Mother Yashoda. She has less weight. Because Mother Yashoda was a mother. So she said she had very wide hips, very small, very thin waist, So she was struggling actually to run behind the small boy, So because she was struggling, some flowers thought, we should help Mother Yashoda, Let's jump off and let's relieve her of some weight. And some other flowers, they were thinking, what is this Mother Yashoda, you know? She wants to beat Krishna, you know? Our Krishna. How can she dare to beat Krishna, you know, to threaten Krishna? We don't want to have to do anything with her. We will jump off. So in the spiritual world, nothing is just happening accidentally or without reason. You know? So some flowers were contrary to Mother Yashoda, you know, they were in the party of Krishna. And some flowers were in support of Mother Yashoda. And both were, you know, that's why they were falling off Mother Yashoda's hair, you know. So like that, Mother Yashoda was running, you know, and trying to catch Krishna. So let's read the translation now on the back side. Who is a good reader? Who likes to read? You? Okay, Bashar will read the first one. English, yeah, English.
The Supreme Lord, whose form is the most embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose sharp-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, who is quickly running from the water-grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with great speed, to that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisance.
Yes, so that's the summary of what we were just talking about. So we'll do one more verse today. So the second verse is, so we do the whole verse now, and then read the translation and explain. So we'll do word by word, and then we'll try to sing it, okay? We'll sing the first two. Rudantam Muhur Netram Yugman Mrijantam Karambhojam Yugmena Satankam Netram Muhu Shvasam Kampam Tirekankam Kanta Stita Graivam Dhamodaram Bhaktivadam. Yes, so who knows the meaning of the word netra? Eyes, netra. Yeah. So, small Damodar, he was so afraid, you know, he started crying, you know. He started crying, and his, you know, black paint, you know, on his face, you know, his kajal started running, you know. So very pity, you know, very pity situation. Krishna was crying, you know, and he was, you know, rubbing his eyes, you know. He was very afraid seeing Mother Yashoda, you know, with the raised stick, you know. She finally caught him, you know, and she raised the stick, you know. And it says in this moment, Mother Yashoda was wondering, you know, what should I do, you know? Because it's always, you know, because sometimes, you know, when children are very naughty, you know, or in general, when people don't do what you want them to do, you know. I also have the experience, you know, I'm trying to run this temple, and sometimes people don't do what you want them to do, you know. They just do whatever they want to do, you know. So you might get frustrated, you know. You might also get frustrated. Your children just don't do what you want to do, or they do something completely contrary, you know. You know, so Mother Yashoda was, you know, she was so frustrated, and she was ready to, you know, because, you know, it's a lot of work, you know, to make butter, churning, you know, a lot of labor, and he just break the pots and eat it all, give it to the monkeys, you know. So she was very angry. She was very mad. But then when she saw Krishna crying like this, she was thinking, maybe I should, you know, throw the stick away, you know, because he might get, some trauma, because small children, if they feel too much threat, if they feel, like, wasn't Bhakti-Bhavat Maharaj talking today morning about this in the class? That we should not chastise, we should not punish people, We should not punish people. You punish people, then they maintain this, fear, They feel that if they don't accomplish something, if they make a mistake, there's punishment is coming, So they're afraid to make mistakes, So Maharaj was talking a lot about this, the psychological, consequences. So Mother Yashoda was also thinking, look at this poor child, I'm being so violent, So she threw the stick away, when she saw Krishna, crying in this way. But the key actually is the last words. The whole verse is describing, the beauty of Krishna and his necks and how he was, his chest was shaking in fear, that his pearl necklace, was vibrating on his chest. But Mother Yashoda was able to catch him and later on to bind him because of Bhakti Bhadam, Nothing can actually bind the Lord. You cannot, because he's Swarat, he's completely independent, He doesn't need anything, Even great yogis can achieve this position of Atmarama. Atmarama means that you are self-sufficient for your well-being. Atmaram means you don't need anything else. You don't need money or wealth or recognition, or protection, security, anything, because you are happy within yourself. So that's a yogi. Yogis achieve this position of Atmaram. Atmaram means that within yourself, Atma, there's complete Ram. There's happiness, bliss. Nothing is missing. Nothing is lacking. So Krishna is also Atmaram. He's the ultimate, Atmaram. But it's very interesting in the Bhagavad Purana, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this topic is discussed very extensively, Atmaram. There's a very famous Atmaram verse, And there it is described or understood that the Lord is Atmaram, and somebody who has realization of spiritual nature, they also become, Atmaram. But somehow, even those great yogis, those great transcendentalists, Brahmavadis, who have understood and perceived Brahman, transcendence, when they hear about these stories, they become fully affected, So there's a very famous story about Shukadeva Goswami. So Shukadeva Goswami is the one who's narrating, and talking the Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And his father is none other than Vyasadeva, Srila Vyasadeva. So it's a long story, but the young boy Shukadeva, as soon as he was born, he left the house. Imagine, He was born and immediately left the house, And his father was, very shocked. He tried to, stop him, but he was gone, He couldn't find him. So, because the Shukadeva, he was Atmaram. He was completely happy within himself. He didn't really need anything in this world. He was not interested in anything, in society, family, He was completely detached. So he went straight to the forest to focus on meditation and transcendence, So Srila Vyasadeva was thinking, what should I do? How do I get my son back? And then he understood, I know how I'll do it, So he had many disciples. So he had all these disciples narrating the stories of Krishna Lila, including this Lila, So they were the disciples were, singing, very similar verses like this, describing how small young boy Krishna, he's crying in fear of his mother. His chest is shaking, and his beautiful neck has 3 lines, like the conch shell. And his big lotus eyes, they're all black running down his cheek. And he's so beautiful to look at, but he's so, it's a very emotional situation. Krishna is crying with so much emotion. And when Krishna is crying in emotion in this lila, it's not that he's only pretending. You know? Because Krishna is fully involved in any relationship of bhakti, you know, fully involved. He's really crying. So, and of course there are many other sweet pastimes like this, you know, Krishna with the gopis. Today night is also Rasa Yatra, you know, so today night we will put, you know, a pot of milk rice, you know, outside in the moon. It's Purnima night. So on the Purnima, I didn't. We'll ask the pujaris, we'll see. But tonight we put this, you know, milk pot outside because today is Rasa Yatra, you know. Very amazing description, you know, of Krishna's dance with the gopis and this huge mandalas, you know, very amazing, incredible to behold. You know, it says all the demigods, all the devatas, you know, they came to behold and to watch this, you know, spectacle, you know, of transcendental love. So all of these descriptions, his disciples were just, you know, reciting in the forest, you know. They were reciting the verses in the forest, you know. Namam Vishwaram Satchit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam. And you know, like this, talking about Krishna's pastimes. And even Shukadeva Goswami was completely happy within himself when he heard those descriptions, you know. Even he had no desires, you know. Nothing could distract him. There was nothing he really needed, you know. But those descriptions agitated his mind. And he became completely, you know, restless, you know. So usually restlessness is a sign of somebody who is in passion, you know, or in ignorance. When you are overburdened, you know, or when you are, you know, afraid of, you know, not achieving something, not getting something, you become restless and afraid, you know. But the restlessness Shukadeva Goswami experienced cannot have been anything material because he was Atmarama. So this Atmarama verse is the proof that whenever a great devotee who is Atmarama feels, you know, a strong sensation of restlessness, you know, and fear and maybe even, you know, pity, and you feel sorry for Krishna, you know, all the sensations are because these narrations are pure and transcendental. So that's how, you know, then Shukadeva Goswami came out and said, tell me more, I want to hear more. What are those, you know, descriptions, you know, and that's how Vyasadeva, you know, captured his son again. And then he taught him the Bhagavad, you know. And later on he narrated the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. So like that, this all of these descriptions are Bhakti Bhadam. You know? They are so beautiful and so powerful because it's the descriptions about devotees who had such a level of devotion that they could actually capture Krishna, you know. Nothing can really get the attention of Krishna except bhakti, you know. And bhakti personified is Srimati Radhika. You know? She's the Adi Lakshmi. You know? Lakshmi Devi is the consort of Narayan, Vishnu, and Radharani is Adi Lakshmi. She's the original Shakti. She's described as Haladini Shakti. Haladini Shakti means the original source of pleasure, of spiritual bliss and happiness. So this Adi Shakti, this Radharani, is the personification of bhakti. Whenever we perform bhakti, we practice bhakti yoga, we are actually trying to gain her mercy, gain her grace, gain her, you know, emulate, you know, her attitude of Radha. You know? Radha means to worship, you know, perfect worship. Radha is the most expert, you know, in worship, in giving veneration and pure veneration, pure love. So yes, the more we can connect to this nature of bhakti, and we're doing it every day, you know, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You know, the syllable Hare. Hare is Radharani, Hara, you know, universal mother. Please, you know, take us back into the shelter of your internal energy, you know. Because bhakti is actually the realm of spiritual reality. Haladini Shakti or Antaranga Shakti is all that's happening within the spiritual realm. Huh? I'm so sorry. So Hladini Shakti is the pleasure energy, and that's Radharani, universal mother, Radharani, and she's also the Antaranga Shakti, the internal energy. So the spiritual realm, the spiritual sphere is Antaranga Shakti. And we, as individual entities, we are Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha means we have a free will. We are in the middle, Tatastha. And then there is a Bahiranga Shakti. This is the external energy, the senses, matter, the false ego, this mind. This is all the external reality. So whenever we are chanting, we are actually taking shelter of Radharani and asking her, please, take us back into the internal reality, because that's where we belong. By nature, we are spiritual entities. But because we're very minute and small, we can get covered by this material energy. But it's not our nature. We never become polluted, actually. We only become covered. So our consciousness becomes filtered by the sensual, elemental coverings that we carry. Depending on which body we have, which karmas we have, which samskaras we have, our consciousness is manifesting differently. But our consciousness, the Atma, is never dirty. It's never polluted, actually. It's only covered. So when we take shelter of the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we're just, reconnecting. Hare Krishna means Hare, O Radha, O Hladini Shakti, O pleasure energy of the Lord, O internal energy of the Lord, please take me back into your realm. Please give me shelter. Bhakti. Bhakti Bhadam. That's what actually attracts Krishna. And this month of Kartik is considered to be the representation of Radharani. So in this month, anything we do, starting from tomorrow, anything spiritual you do is multiplied, 1,000 times. It's very powerful. Any tiny, small vrata, you do. If you chant one mantra Hare Krishna every day, at the same time, with full devotion, or maybe if one full japamala, or reading Bhagavad Gita in this month is also considered to be very auspicious. Any spiritual activity that you perform, or also on the other side, any activity that you might reduce, So if you live in a temple, you could take, for example, the vow to attend all the programs, That already, it's a very practical thing you could do, Should be relatively easy, Everything is given. You just participate in all the programs, morning, evening, So like that, it's a great opportunity, it's a great blessing. And many devotees during this month, they go to Vrindavan. So Kartik in Vrindavan, that then it's multiplied even more. Just spending this month, consciously in a temple also. Of course, a temple is also a dhamma, because ultimately a dhamma, or a holy place, is holy because of two reasons: because of the presence of the Lord and the presence of the devotees who have bhakti towards the Lord. So any place where you find that is a dhamma. And one definition of a dhamma, of a devotee, is also somebody who is walking, mobile dhamma. A pure devotee, a true saint, wherever he sits down, this place becomes a dhamma. Because he starts speaking, he attracts people. And Srila Prabhupada is, of course, the best example. He traveled to the West with 42 rupees, Of course, in 1965, the rupee was a little bit more valuable, Now I think it's 86 to a euro. Back then, I think it was 12 to a euro, Or not euro, like dollar. But still, not a lot of money. And he had a big case of books, And he just sat down, started chanting in the park, chanting in a loft in New York, And by his, wherever he went, he opened 108 temples, within his lifetime. And after him, so many devotees opened many more temples. And whenever we go, we install his deity, we read his books. It's all an expansion of what he did. And he created so many holy places. He said one of the 7 goals of ISKCON is to create, holy places where the pastimes of Krishna are enacted, glorified. So like that. So this place is of course strongly related to the Narasingha Lila, and other temples are more, related to pastimes of Radha Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Srila Prabhupada, is an amazing example how, even in the midst of, mayhem, and craziness, and Western civilization, in a big social unrest, in the 60s and 70s, was such a big social unrest, cultural revolution. He just sat down and, manifested, all of these holy places, all of those temples. So like that, that's the Holy Dharma. So we'll sing them together now, line by line, and it's a very simple rhythm, like that. Okay, you can try. We'll just sing the 2 first verses. Namam Vishwaram Sachid Anandarupam. Sorry, that's the wrong melody. That's the Mayapur melody. Namam Vishwaram Sachid Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyolukaladhabamanam Param Rishtam Atyanta Todruta Gopyam Rudanta Muhur Netra Yukman Vrijantam Karam Boja Yukmena Satanka Netram Muhushvasa Kampatire Kanta Kanta Stita Graivam Damodaram Bhakti Badham. Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai, Shri Shri Pala Lakshmani Singh Dev Bhagwan Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Good night. So tomorrow night we will sing the whole song under awful lamps. So this is going to be now our daily activity. We might even sing the song in the morning also, in the morning melody. I think that we'll do it twice, in the morning and the evening. You can get a chance to sing the song. In the evening we'll offer the lamps. Hare Krishna. Good night.